Hello again, YouTube. It seems to be my day for doing quick videos, or the last couple of days. I don't know if you. A couple of days ago, I was involved in one of Nathan Oakley's debates. I'd actually tried to wait on.
And I have helped many filmmakers and editors make it.
Hang on a second. I'll mute this. Okay. So I was on with one of Nathan Oakley's things, debating with Anthony Riley. Who else? And the discussion got on to the reason I went on actually was to correct him about something biological he was talking about. But we got onto the Earth's core, and it in the course of the discussion there was a lot of argument about whether there's what generates the magnetic field and the fact that the Earth's core is hot. And during the course of that discussion, I said that I was under the impression that the gravity plus other effects, gravity was partially responsible for creating the heat there, and that the Coriolis effect caused the liquid metal in the core to move, and that created electric currents, which created the magnetic field. And that was correct. But what I didn't realize was the reason that the Earth's core and mantle are actually so hot. So I was reading about this today, and in a spare couple of minutes again, and came across this website amongst others. This one explains it quite clearly, and it says that most of the Earth's heat is stored in the mantle rather than the core, which is quite interesting. And there are four sources that keep it hot. First is leftover from when gravity first condensed the planet, and they, obviously at that time it's thought that the Earth was a large, essentially molten ball, and that has cooled down over the course of the 4.5 billion years since it was formed, although being heated up at times, I would imagine, by asteroid and comet impacts and so on. But not a lot of those, not that many of those in more recent history, and it's cooled down somewhat. And they think that this original heat accounts for 5 to 10% of the total. And they also consider the gravitational heat accounts for a similar proportion. So this they're saying that the denser, heavier parts are drawn to the center, and less dense areas are displaced outwards, and the friction created by that process generated considerable heat, which, like the original heat, still hasn't fully dissipated. The actual gravity itself at the moment and any pressure is possibly not responsible for creating the heat that exists in the mantle and the core. Then they talk about latent heat, which is due to the core actually solidifying at the moment. So liquid metal is turning solid and adding volume, and that actually releases heat because there's an expansion of the core in that process. But the current thinking is, or appears to be, that the remainder of the heat, the majority of it, is caused by decay of radioactive isotopes, particularly potassium-40, uranium-238, 235, and thorium-232, that are contained within the mantle rather than in the core itself. And those isotopes radiate heat, and it's that keeps the core of the Earth as hot as it is. So I was somewhat in error in what I was claiming was the source of the heat. But interestingly, Anthony Riley was trying to claim that there needs to be an external energy source, external to the core, which is the magnet. And this does provide an energy source, a heat source, which is largely located within the mantle, and therefore is external to the core, and can therefore create the heat and the movement of liquid metal in the core that creates the magnetic field. So I just thought I'd post this quick kind of correction for something that I'd said, and have it out there if anybody wants to or has looked at anything that is on Nathan's channel. I also think Anthony has copied some of the discussion onto his, although I have only looked at the thumbnail of his video. I haven't actually had time to play it. I may do over the weekend while I'm away. We'll see. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say for now, and I shall stop this broadcast.